That's right.
But created. That's a big factor. That's one thing I think that we often neglect too hastily, because our Constitution always appealed to a higher authority to say we were created by God in His image.
Didn't say God. It said created equal.
Created, but
doesn't say anything about His image until you go to the Bible. Doesn't say that in the Constitution.
All right, but it implies that.
It doesn't say that. It implies it. Okay. It's like in God we trust that our money didn't come out to the 50s. Under God in our Pledge of Allegiance till the 50s. We went 150 years without that.
I'm willing to go down the whole, the founders were deists, blah 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 blah. Okay. However,
they knew what the problem was if you mix the two. Otherwise, we'd have an Iran, right?
No. You don't have to have a theocracy to say that each individual person has value because they were created by God. You don't have to have a theocracy to do that.
Why do you have to put the God thing in it? Why don't you just say that each person has the same value or is equal? Why does it have, what about people that don't believe in God? Now I'm just on the other side of this. What about people that are atheists? Are they less because they don't believe in God?
No, absolutely not.
Because they believe in a different God? Or maybe everybody has the same God. I don't know. It's like
that, and that's all we're saying. All we're saying is whether you believe in God or not, what we're saying is the ultimate authority that cannot be contested says that you are just as equal as I am.
But suppose if I'm an atheist, complete, that higher authority doesn't exist. So how can I live in this society and I can do all the right things and do all the good things, but I don't believe in that?
Well, that's like that. That could be a problem for you, because then what you're doing is you're looking at me and you're saying, oh, well, I don't think anybody created us at all. And I don't think there's a higher authority to appeal to at all outside of myself. So I get to decide who has worth and value.
That's not the way it works. No.
That's exactly how it works.
Just because a person might be an atheist or maybe believe in a different God or a different religion or whatever, doesn't mean that they're only for themselves. No, they still have they can still live within society or culture.
They're still created in the image of God. You're exactly right.
No,
and that's where they get that from. Okay, but they didn't mention God specifically in the Constitution. Right? They're not gonna mention God, but they're still going to operate on that principle that we are all created.
Back to what I was saying.
Yeah.
Now that we got a Constitution, now you've just confirmed the Constitution is because we're doing with this whole image of God and everything is following the Judeo-Christian. Why do we have so many bad people in the United States that end up in prison? How can we have, if all the people here, and we got those rules, why do we have the most people in prison?
Because the path of least resistance is evil.
Why do we have so many people dying every year of gunshots and violence and everything versus other countries?
Because the path of least resistance is evil.
But every other country has the opportunity to have that evil too, but they don't have those problems.
Yeah, but again, not every other country is the United States.
How do you justify that? I don't understand.
Well, I don't justify it. There's no justifying it. But I don't think it's a fair comparison.
That's what you always go to every time I compare or contrast with other country. Oh, it doesn't compare because this is America. We're special. I'm serious now. Let's take the rest of the world versus America, even. Okay, how come I feel safer when I'm walking around an Asian country at 3:00 in the morning versus downtown Cincinnati where I live? Why do I feel safer in another country?
Well, cool story, bro, but it's just not the facts.
It is the fact for me. It's the fact for me because I know I'm not going to get mugged.
Your truth, my truth. Yeah, never the twain shall meet, right?
I'm telling you.
But you got to look at data. What you got to look at is data.
Okay.
And again, compared to the entire rest of the world, there's some places in the Middle East I could take you.
Well, have you been there? No.
Well, I feel like I'm well informed enough about what goes on in Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Syria, etc., to know. that those places, why are Mexico,
this is
South America,
I lived in Mexico for 2 years. I know
why are
what
refugees
like.
Why are refugees fleeing here? Why are there refugees if it's so safe around the rest of the world?
Man. You watch the wrong news. They hype that stuff up. I'm serious, man. You watch the wrong news. You're reading the wrong articles. You're reading people that want, and I know that you want to believe that, and I know you want to believe America's the best at everything and positively, but really give it a compare and a contrast to other places. Just take a look. That's all I got to say. Because I've lived in other places. I can give you that comparison, right? I do feel more comfortable walking around a downtown street. I can walk around Beijing or Shanghai at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning down the Bund in Shanghai, and I never worry about being shot, being robbed, nobody bothering me. Nothing. I can walk around in Cincinnati down and over the Rhine. I'm always got my spidey senses going, what the hell's going on? Am I going to make it through this? Can I make it back to my car? What's the shortest route? I'm just telling you. That's just I can tell you downtown Fort Wayne where you live. You don't go down there at 3 o'clock or when the bars close at 1 o'clock in the morning. You don't feel all that comfortable, do you?
Oh, Fort Wayne's pretty safe. Well, I feel pretty safe because I know jiu-jitsu, but
Okay, that's right.
That's
either that or we're packing one or the other. But I mean, it's just like
that too. Nobody's screwing around in Fort Wayne, just or Indiana anywhere, generally speaking, because that's kind of the same. But
Utopia is in Ohio, right?
Yeah, of course. Well,
no, I'm serious. There's a city, Utopia, right? Just on the river, just east of.
Sure. Yeah. I know Utopia. Yeah.
Utopia, Ohio.
I know Utopia. Yeah, Utopia. Yeah, it's just across the way from Middletown. So, right. Yeah.
So anyway, my question is why do we have so many bad people here? Safety wise, why do more people get murdered in the United States per capita than any place else? Just about. I mean, unless it's a war torn someplace. Why do we live in this society like this? And granted, everybody wants to come here.
We have freedom.
Okay,
you have the freedom to do that. I mean, in China, in Beijing, you're not going to have the freedom to do something like that. If you try to pull something like that,
walk around.
If I try to perform an armed robbery in Beijing, I'm going to the gulags.
No, you're not.
I'm not. What am I doing?
Sentence, and you're going to be whacked out in about a month. Why?
Yep. So maybe that's the route we should go.
Maybe. I mean, why does it take 25 years? When it's an obvious person we don't want. Why does it take 25 years to get rid of it?
Maybe our justice system isn't swift enough.
Right. In some cases, but it's always errs on. Maybe they're making a mistake, or maybe some other thing. Because there's been people exonerated by like DNA and that kind of thing. More recently.
Oh yeah, 100%. But you're not going to get that in China.
No, because the guy's already gone. They can exonerate him and say, "Okay, well, sorry."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's done.
Yep. Done deal.
Can't go backwards.
You're not going to watch any Netflix specials about somebody wrongly accused in China because they're gone.
That's right. They're gone. So you know what I mean? So whenever I'm in China, do you think I try to get in trouble? Nope.
No. Yeah. So maybe we should crack down a little more. Is that what you're saying?
Well, maybe we should have the right policies. It's obvious our laws and things aren't adequate, or our judicial system isn't adequate right now.
Right.
We're not doing the right
thing. We definitely have.
Maybe the Judeo-Christian model is not working.
Right. We have the kind of freedoms in the United States where it's quite possible that to walk around Beijing may feel way safer, and to walk around Cincinnati might not feel so safe because we have freedoms here.
Freedom to kill people? No, we don't have freedom to kill people.
Well, that's not freedom, but at the same time, we have a judicial system that is in some ways I think overly sensitive, because take a Breonna Taylor case type situation. Mm-hmm. You think that would be an uproar in China? No. Not at all.
I don't think it would have happened anyway. But anyway, go ahead. Yeah,
might not have happened, but you get caught up in whatever the local Chinese police in Beijing or whatever. You get caught up in a situation, you accidentally get shot by them. There's not going to be a national scandal over that.
Probably not, but the Chinese police don't carry guns. Most of them.
Okay, probably because they don't have to.
No, they don't have to because they got.
Yeah, well, they know where to take the people. And
the arms race isn't like here. The reason police here carry guns and have armored cars and all that stuff is because our citizenry does. So if you take that out of the equation, then as a police force, you don't have to have all that. Right?
Well, yeah, but I think we've shown with examples of immigration and drugs that when the just like the old Star Wars line where the Princess Leia, the more you tighten your grip, the more stuff will slip through your fingers. Mm-hmm. So you start to crack down. I think especially in the United States, I think that ship sailed. We got to figure something else out about guns. If you want to figure something else out, it's not going to be more control.
Yeah. Biden's already talking about a buyback program, so that's good.
Yeah, well, he'll have to send his SS around to pry him from my gold dead fingers because I'm not gonna.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're not going to sell your gun back because at least one of your guns is sentimental too. I understand that, right?
Well,
so it's not going
right.
I mean, I get that.
But if he comes for my AR or my AK-47, I'm not giving that back.
Well, they're not going to have to take it from you. You're going to give it back willingly.
No, I won't
buy it from you.
I won't.
No? Well, that'll just make you a criminal then if you have it.
Yep. Then they can take me to jail.
Okay. All right.
and
then instead of 2 million, we'll have 2,000,001. Okay.
Along with several other million Indianans and Texans.
All over the country. There's a whole bunch.
Yeah, that would be the stupidest thing they could try is a gun back You might get that going in New York, maybe California, but it
works in other countries. So hopefully,
great, yeah, works in other countries. It's not going to work in the United States.
Maybe we should work on the universal health care first.
Well, so you got to deal with what you can deal with, right?
Yeah,
you got to deal with the realities on the ground. Okay.
Yeah, I get it.
So
you know where the guns that the cartels use, you know where they come from, right? Well, cartels in Mexico,
Russia.
No,
they carry mostly
from the United States. Are you kidding me? So easy.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Almost all
from the through the United States through the Fast and Furious program that Obama initiated.
They all come from the United States. They get delivered just like the drugs. It's like that way. It's like a trucker. You never go with an empty load, right? You have guns one way and drugs the other way. It's like you haul steel one way and something else the other way, right?
Right. So the solution to that is make all the drugs legal and make all the guns legal. Then you don't have a black market for them.
Yep.
Right.
I guess so. Well, this will be the only country where you have that. But although we're starting to get the drugs a little closer, at least they're, what is it? Washington State has or is it Oregon? One of them, I guess.
Yeah, they legalized psilocybin, which, again, that.
Well, not legalized, but they decriminalized it, right? Same as Colorado did the same thing.
I'm very much against possession type related, but again, if you look at the numbers, that stuff, possession stuff, even with possession with the intent to distribute type stuff, that is minor. That is.
I'm gonna go look it up after we're done, and then that's going to
definitely
be the
go look it up
when we do next week.
Right. Well, look at the federal prisons. You're going to see a big percentage of folks in there with possession with intent to distribute, because that's a federal offense. Okay. So you're going up against the feds with that. What you got to look at is
nonviolent drug offenders. That's what I'm going to look for, because there's a whole bunch of nonviolent drug offenders that are serving a year in county jail or a year in state prison and stuff like that. And those add up. They add up real quick, because you look at the whole.
They do add up, but they don't. But on the aggregate, you're gonna find, Jeff. Definitely look at the state prison stuff. Okay,
I'll find you a citation. Don't worry.
Well, because again, all of your murder charges, your again the offenses against body and property, life and property. Those are all state offenses.
Why do you think we have so many like murderers in the United States compared to other countries? I mean, per capita.
Well, because I do think because we have freedom, and when you have freedom, that allows people to live undisciplined lives, and the path of least resistance is evil. Our way of life is predicated on individuals disciplining themselves to live proper lives.
So is that working out for us, or seem to be working out for other people better without that? I don't
know. Well, you might be right. I mean, America is an experiment. And it may be, and again, back in the day when you talk about left and right.
Wait a second, hold on. You keep saying it's an experiment, but realistically, you say we're the biggest, we're the baddest, we got all this stuff. Everybody relies on us. An
Everybody wants to be
usually something that you try on the side, you make it work, and then you scale it up to make it something big, right? So if we're still an experiment, how can we be the biggest and baddest and everything? We're not an experiment anymore. We're this whole thing that's grown to where we are right now after 200 years.
The biggest thing in our favor is our prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you come to America, I mean, you could be the lowliest individual, and you could come to America and prosper.
Yep.
I mean, the poorest among us is rich by comparison to anybody else in the world.
But the poorest among us are in breadlines right now. So.
Okay, but we have breadlines.
But we have breadlines. You're right. Okay.
Okay. So and there is something to be said for a rising tide lifts all boats, and what I mean, a book I would encourage you to read is an atheist guy. His name's Stephen Peaker. He wrote a book called Enlightenment Now. You get it on audiobook. I disagree with he says the Enlightenment or the Western ideal, apart from God. I disagree with that. But he shows with data how Western liberal capitalism has lifted the world out of poverty.
Right.
The amount of people in poverty now compared to 1980 is, I mean, it's astonishing how we have tamped down poverty worldwide, or whatever it is that's going on in the United States, in the Western world, has lifted people out of poverty.
I disagree.
But anyway, you can disagree all you want, but just look at the data.
I disagree because I don't think it was the Western world. I don't think it was the United States in particular, because most of the poverty back in the 80s and 90s even was China. And China's lifted their own people out of poverty. It was part of one of their 5-year plans.
Well, that's because whether you agree with it or not, that's because the United States opened trade with China.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Now, my argument is had we not opened ourselves to China with trade and normalized relations to the degree we have, China would have went the way of the Soviet Union.
Do you think China sells anything to Europe?
Well, they do, but the Western world agreed we're going to do business.
Well, I get we're the biggest market and all that kind of stuff, but I think that we opened up China obviously in the 70s with Kissinger and Nixon going over there and all that kind of thing, but
right.
China wouldn't have done it as quickly as what they've done it now using our money.
I don't think
they
would have done it.
They still would have done it.
No, I don't think they would have done it at all. I think they would have gone the way of the Soviet Union. Again, I don't have tons of data to back this up,
but their governance is nothing like the Soviet Union, and it's nothing like it was back then.
They're not now.
Once Mao was dead, that was the best thing that happened to them.
But I think you would have seen something like what you saw happen to Russia. We'd have a Russia situation with China right now, and to your point, I think the world economy would be weaker had we not tried to figure out something with China.
Yeah.
And so, while we say to China, hey, you are manufacturing all this stuff. I mean, I've got crap sitting all around me that probably every bit of it's made in China on somewhere. Exactly.
Everything's made in China. Yep.
Yeah.
That's why you have a deficit.
Right. We have to be able to say, okay, that's where, my libertarian, free market capitalism comes in conflict with my values, to say, you can't treat your people like this. You can't treat people like this. You can't do this to people who have a different idea than you do.
Right.
You have to, if you're going to trade, if you're going to be a part of the world economy, you have to keep making steps toward being a free and open society, a more democratic, liberal society.
So I'll give you an example. Whenever we were doing a project over in China, and the client went over there and observed the office, and then, just like a boondoggle trip for them to come over and check it out. And they said, "Oh my goodness, they're sitting in such small cubicles. They don't have much space whenever they're at work, and how many hours do they work and all that kind of stuff." They asked the question. They asked the right questions because it's a Canadian client, and Canada's really strong on that with human rights, even more so than the United States. And when we asked, well, this is a normal environment in an engineering office here. I said, we can show you around to the other projects, within this environment, and show you this is what we do, and we'll travel to other offices and see what's going on. And they did that. But they even asked, they said, that's not the way we want people to be treated on our project. So we want you to do something different. And they said, well, it's going to cost more. And they just said, well, that's fine. So they put their money behind it and said, yeah, we want bigger cubicles. We want different computers, with dual terminals versus single terminals, so they can be more productive. This is what we want you to do. And they were okay with that. That's fine. But the problem is we always end up back at that lowest denominator for some reason. I don't know why, when we're doing this trade thing. And but they got the value that they were looking for out of it. I guess that's what I'm getting to, is they had a different perceived value. Rather than just getting the engineering and paying the money for it, they had a value that they knew that engineering was coming from an office that provided and supported their employees in a certain way, right? So,
right. Well, and I think that's sort of the thing that it takes is for people with values that, I call them at bedrock Judeo-Christian values, but values of life and property.
Right. Just to, another example too. Whenever working here in the United States, not in Cincinnati, but we set up a very large project, and we had people from the Middle East over quite often. So we had to set them up a prayer room within the office because they have to pray 5 times a day. So but that's not the Judeo-Christian thing, setting them up a prayer room. But
well,
it was a requirement of our project that we did that, right?
Well, I would say that is again within the purview of those values, that you value those people's life, even though you disagree with their religion. You value their life, and you say, okay,
you value their opinions, their beliefs.
Value their opinion. They're free to think how they want. That's what I think is great about America is that we battle over ideas. Right. And you're allowed to have whatever idea you want. If you want to be a neo-Nazi, hey, bring that idea to the table. We're going to crush it. We're going to destroy it. We're going to dice it up. You want to be a communist country? Bring that idea to the table. I'm going to crush it. I'm going to dice it up and tell you it's a terrible idea. I'm going to tell you it's going to cost a lot of life and a lot of property. It's gonna violate our values, but let's bring all these ideas to the table. Let's hash them out and find out. That's what I that's what I value about America. Is it doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter where you come from. If you're talented and you've got good ideas, and you want to get out there and put your nose to the grindstone, you can make it here. No problem.
Yeah, I've seen some good, and I've seen some bad, and I've seen some, the whole thing about, he isn't one of us kind of thing, and even saw that when I lived in Canada too. Which was kind of, they have their melting pot is even more mixed than our melting pot, because they've really brought in a lot of immigrants over the last several years, right? Because they're trying to build up the population.
Because it's so damn cold up there. Nobody wants to live up there.
Well, nobody wants to live there, and people don't make as many babies. They don't have them, 12 kid families, right, anymore. And they want to bring up their population because that brings up their tax base. So they invited folks from all over the world to come there, and even me. So that's why I was there.
Yeah.
But people have different beliefs and stuff.
I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's some things about the way China does things that I value. I mean, I value work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I think that we talked about this before. I think that's something that Americans, have lost in a lot of ways.
Well, you looked at the movie American Factory, right?
Yeah. I love that documentary, because I thought it really showcased how committed Chinese people are to work. They see the value in it, and our people are like, oh no, we don't want to work that hard. We're going to unionize, and we're going to demand, and we're going to da-da-da-da-da.
Careful now with the union thing, because the union people, I feel really strong for union people. I didn't for a while, but I'm back in that mode now, because I really do think that union people have their mind in the right place to get a job done. They're not just, before I thought they were a bit of a moocher, but now I'm really feeling like the new unions are much better.
Well, I think the private union, I think there's something to be said for workers getting together and say, okay, we've got some unfair things going on here. And that's one thing that Chinese workers they just won't do. They're just like, hey, we're going to do what we're told. We're going to work hard. We're going to put our nose to the grindstone. We're not going to make waves here.
It's country, company, and self.
Right.
In that order.
Right. And and Americans we just don't think like that.
No.
And so you've got to deal with what you have.
So I really saw it not just in the movie, but in my travels, right? Because we're buying manufactured goods, right? They're manufactured and shipped around the world. So going to a U.S. manufacturer, or going to a Canadian manufacturer or a fabricator, right? And then going to a Chinese fabricator versus a European fabricator, and just walking through their factory, or where they're fabricating their items, it's like night and day. Or like I was in Sweden for a while too, and just seeing how their work ethic was, and how they keep their floors clean compared to other places, and their health and safety, and especially, right? Because that's what you really look for, is health and safety. They have trip points. Do they have, clearly things marked? Do they do their housekeeping? Do they keep their inventory? All those kind of things, right? When you're visiting one of those places. So, there's differences. And I hate to say, the U.S. companies seem to miss the mark a little bit.
Well, and that's the U.S. Yeah, well, and and I don't disagree with that. That's kind of the dark side of prosperity, right? We when you're so prosperous that driving trucks kind of spoils you, because trucking company isn't treating me exactly the way I think they ought to treat. I can go find another trucking job like that,
right?
And I try not to take that attitude best I can, but a lot of guys, they don't. They're just like, I know that I can behave however I want. I can work hard, or I can not work hard, or I can do whatever I want. Right. And so that's the dark side of prosperity. Is and I think in a lot of ways we're I'm a student of the 60s and 70s. Those eras just fascinate me. So and I've been studying. If you want to listen to a really riveting podcast, you got to listen. There's a podcast called Martyr Made by Daryl Cooper, and he goes on for hours. And it's about Jonestown ultimately, but he gives all the background on all the unrest in the 60s and 70s, and talks about everything going. Compared to what was going on in the 60s I mean, and you probably know a little bit of this. I mean,
sure.
we're not going through anything.
No,
we're making shit up right now.
That's right. We're not shooting our leaders or anything like that, or shooting presidential candidates or
no. Yeah, we're not killing presidents. We're not killing senators running for, we're not killing civil rights. None of that stuff's going on.
Right. Not yet.
Not yet. God be praised. And I don't think it will. I don't think it will. I think I really am convinced that we are so bored by our own prosperity that we've got to make something up to
I think
try
we're
to
a
fight
little bit numb right now too, especially after Trump. Everything was a crisis. Everything was outrageous. Every tweet was one upmanship on his last tweet. I mean, just like, oh my gosh, people are just exhausted from all that crap.
Well, right, and yeah, and again, I think about
nothing's outrageous anymore, right? Trump could actually do the Fifth Avenue shoot the guy in the head thing now. Nobody would even ask him a question.
Yeah, well, I don't know about all that, but I compare so I compare Trump tweeting, right, which I don't like,
mm-hmm.
To what was going on, with the unrest in the late 60s and early 70s, and you're just kind of like, okay, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna be all right.
Do you think that's because we have more communication now than we had back then?
Yeah, maybe so. And again, the American voters have spoken in a huge voice. I mean, that's pretty remarkable. You think about it. How many people voted? I mean, granted, we had the mail-in voting thing. Okay, I don't care. Whatever. Right.
There were still real votes.
Yeah, big voice just said, hey, okay, we don't want this anymore. Okay.
150 million plus voted this time.
No
Biggest
kidding.
turnout ever.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, that says something about us to say that, hey, people care. People care. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have to, okay, we had some rioting going on. There was some crazy crap happening. We had this pandemic, and it was a nutty year.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
black people getting choked out in the streets and riots. There was some ugly stuff that happened. Mm-hmm.
But the people rose up and said, hey, we want to keep our country.
That's right.
We want to keep this thing. We want to keep trying it. And and maybe we need to pivot away from this. And I really think that's a lot of, and I think that's evidenced by, that is just unheard of. That's why all the brouhaha about, voter fraud and all this stuff, because all the Republicans down ticket won.
Right. So I'll give you another one. I've got a really good friend that I've known for 40 years. Okay. We were in our 20s in the 80s, back whenever we were working at the nuclear power plants, right? Yeah. And he's a lawyer now. When he quit his job, we worked together, quit his job, took a complete different direction, went back to school, finished up his he already had a bachelor's degree, so he got his Juris Doctorate, and then he had to go back and do something else after that. But now he's a lawyer in Portland doing not consumer products, but product liability kind of thing, right? He's doing. Okay. He's got a huge case on this plastic pipe that they're putting in all kinds of municipal buildings and all that. Anyway, but liability type claims for products. And I was asking him. I said, and I just talked to him at Thanksgiving, and I said, so what's the deal, man, with the whole Portland burning and everything else? He's like, no. He says there's like 2 blocks downtown. People are marching around, and yes, those businesses are out of business, and they lit a bunch of fires in the street and all that. But there's no Portland burning. I'm still going to work every day, just like everybody else. So it's all hyped out. It's all the news. And then both sides of the news hype the whole thing, and that's kind of what I thought. I figured out something back years ago. And this is back in the 80s, is late 80s ish, late 80s. Living in California, we used to see things on the news about a huge mudslide or a fire. And, me being from the Midwest, I want to see what a mudslide, right? I want to see what a mudslide looks like, right? Sure. You have to get in the car. Let's drive down to the beach. Let's find out where this mudslide is. Didn't find it. It's because it's this little mudslide. If you watch CNN and you see the same thing looping, like every 5 minutes, that means that's all they got. If it's looping every 10 minutes, they might have a little bit more, but not much more. If they're showing news stuff or, Even Fox News is saying it doesn't matter which news outlet. I pick on CNN, but if things are looping, they ain't got nothing else. So
right. Well, yeah, and that's the whole. Yeah, that's the whole. If it bleeds, it leads. I mean, that's unfortunately what our journalism has turned into too often in this day and time. And again, and I can't remember the author's name, but read something like Days of Rage. You look at the 1960s. You want to talk about some serious, crazy stuff going on where you thought where the country.
How do those people communicate and pull together as a team to be able to do those things that they did? That's crazy. Right. Where some of them had to be individuals or just people that were just on the edge. Police groups, political groups, all kind of demonstrators. And now we got this social media where everybody's on an iPhone and not only just taking pictures, but communicating with people, each other. And then it's not just taking pictures. They're taking live shots and having a live feed, which was in the 60s, they couldn't even do with a camera.
Right.
Having live feeds directly from your iPhone today of an event that's going on.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right.
But I agree. Not even in comparison to the 60s.
Not even close. And the thing of it is that, you and I both, if we could sit here from now until tomorrow morning and watch all the violent police interactions that go on, but across the United States between now and tomorrow, we'd be horrified. You'd be horrified. Mm-hmm. We're just not used to seeing that kind of violence. Even when the cop is justified in doing what he's doing, when you see somebody use force on another human being, it should.
Yeah. They took all those shows off TV. I used to watch them. They took everything off.
Yeah.
Why did they? The funny thing is they took it all off. But I watch TV from outside the continental United States, right?
Sure.
They still show all that stuff overseas, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe. And they're showing it about us.
Yeah.
So they're still filming the cop shows and all that kind of stuff for an international market. We're not allowed to see it, but they're actually showing it to other people to let other people know what our society is about. I see you got the nod.
Yeah. Right. What? Hey, Goose.
You guys talk about racism?
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
Sweet. Good
I think we said it once or twice.
He knows me. I've met him.
Yeah.
That's right. What's that shirt she's got on? Purdue?
Oh yeah, she goes to Purdue Fort Wayne. So
nice.
She's a elephant. What do you call it? Mastodon. Yeah, she's a mastodon.
There's a giant elephant buried here somewhere.
Hey, I heard she had a TikTok, but you never sent me the link, man.
Oh, that's right. You got to send Cousin Jeff your TikTok link. Okay, she says no. I don't know. she just does the makeup. Huh? She does the makeup thing. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, well, yeah, I'll talk her into it. I know. Well, she's done some cool modeling stuff. That's kind of cool. But
that's right.
But right, yeah. So yeah, that's the thing is, you don't. And again, the overwhelming majority of cops aren't. They're not involved in that sort of thing. But they're again, if we had it on a 24-hour, if we could watch just button cams of bad police interactions from starting right now till 3:00 tomorrow afternoon, you would be like, holy crap, what the hell's going on in our country?
Right.
But
that's why people look at us, because that's what they're looking at. That's why I was telling you that they were still showing that overseas. If I get on a European TV channel or an Asian TV channel, that's what I'm seeing. I can pick that stuff up.
Yeah,
and they still show our news, and you should see the commentary we get about our news, our politics and things. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, and so and that's the kind of and that stuff. That stuff runs. It does, but that's the problem with it is what you have to ask yourself is, okay, we've got the situation like with Floyd in Minneapolis, and you got to say, well, is it time to is it time to end the experiment and say, well, this failed, this didn't work.
It's not an experiment. That's what I told you earlier. It's not an experiment anymore. We scaled it up. this is what it is. Okay.
It is. Yeah. It is. Well, and that's the thing. Is it time to end it? Whether you want to call it an experiment or not?
I'm not saying let's end it. Let's say let's keep this going. Maybe we got to try another little experiment on the side, because an experiment is usually a subset of what you plan on producing, right? If I'm going to make a new chemical or something, I do a little experiment in my lab, right? And then I scale that up into something that's maybe a pilot plant. Then I scale that up into a full production facility. So we're at full production facility right now with America. Maybe we ought to look at some experiments, maybe like the UBI we talked about, right? With the universal basic income, with our healthcare. There's some experiments we can try. Maybe some of the states can take some of those forward. Maybe, I don't know. I'm sure there's a couple of states out there. Hawaii had some universal health there for a little bit. I don't think they do anymore though. But
right. Well, and that's something that definitely, and that's, it's something we've lost over the years is our federal system, where the states just, they don't have the resources or the freedom to experiment as much as they used to.
Right.
California's kind of trying it, but people are fleeing California, from what I understand, in droves.
Yeah.
It's just not, it's just not the I mean,
well, the COVID's even exasperated that. Oh my gosh, because if you don't have to show up in an office, like me, I don't go to an office. I do everything from home, right? So I could literally, in fact, I told the one company I do consulting for, I said I'm going overseas in January or February, and I'm going to go for a month or maybe two, because my wife needs some medical attention, so we're going to go over there. And he was just like, okay, so what does that mean? You're not going to be able to work? And I said, no. As far as your relationship with me, it's not going to change, because I'm still going to be online. I mean, I'm going to go and stay in my place over there, and I'm going to be on the internet. So, I mean, I can do anything I do right now, I'll be able to do from there. So I'm just being a different time zone, and I'll accommodate for you to make sure I can make it to meetings and all that kind of thing, right?
Right.
Doesn't matter. So a lot of people are fleeing California, especially Silicon Valley right now, because they don't have to pay $3,000 to $5,000 a month for rent, and they can live anywhere because they're making big bucks, and they can move any place they want. People are starting to figure
this out. Yeah,
they're probably coming to Fort Wayne. That's where they're coming to.
Hey, yeah, that's the thing is, people are starting to figure out, you don't need to necessarily be in an office building. I never really, at this juncture with our technology, I don't understand these people, owning a block of offices in the Empire State Building. What's the point?
There's no point.
Why you want to pay all that rent?
That kills the whole industry too. Think about all these vacant office buildings that are what are they gonna do? Just sit and crumble until what? I mean,
they'll be
little, take them down.
Yeah, there'll be monuments, and if they don't take them down, they'll just be look at what we built back in the day when people used to get together and work in offices.
That's right. Commute every day. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, that's cool.
Can you imagine people commuting for an hour every day? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, I think my prediction is that as long as the prosperity is there, I don't think we have a ton to worry about. What was going on in the 60s, I think was an outgrowth of some serious disparities, very racist disparities that were present with Jim Crow and whatnot. Economic disparities that were so harsh, that you just really couldn't. There was there's nowhere to go, type of situation, and I just think there's so much prosperity right now. As long as that keeps up, you got
to remember, you got millions of people here, but we're coming up to the end of the line here for this whole eviction moratorium and all that kind of stuff at the end of the month.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of people that owe 5 months worth of rent. If you're paying $1,000 a month, they owe $5,000, and they got to come up with January's rent. So that's $6,000 on January 1. People haven't had a job for months. Hopefully, I mean, if you're a smart person in that situation, you're going to save up as much money as you can. So you're going to move someplace else and stiff the guy for his rent. And I mean, that's just the American way. It's capitalism, right? Anyway, but stiff the guy for his rent, and you're going to move on to another place, and you're going to pay him the deposit, and you're going to move into another place. But realistically, the person that loses then is the landlord, because he started to make payments on the whole thing all the way through there. He's going to come after the person for the rest of their life for that $5,000. It's just we're in a real precarious place right now with this whole COVID and not providing help for our population. I mean, a lot of the Western countries, even Canada north of us, gave each one of their citizens $2,000. Each one of their citizens and legal immigrants. So it's funny because you know my wife is a Canadian citizen and I'm a landed immigrant in Canada. So we could have went ahead and applied for it and got $4,000 a month during this whole COVID thing. And it would be kind of shaky. It'd be kind of screwy with me still working, but I mean, she stays at home. Anyway, a lot of places did that, but we didn't do it. And we're coming up to Trump's turning over a big freaking mess to Biden right now.
Oh, Biden to the rescue. Oh, it's going to happen.
Oh, somebody's going to.
Biden's going to come in. Pelosi's going to pass this great package. It's going to take care of everything. We have the cure. Biden's going to swoop in on January 20th, and everything's going to be fine.
I don't believe that. I think we're going to. You know what? You and I are not going to get that shot until summertime.
Well, if Biden values his administration, he'll make that happen.
Yeah,
he'll make it happen, and I think he will. I think you're looking at mid-March, before it's and Biden's going to be able to say, look at what we did.
Yeah, I don't think it'll make it mid-March, but I hope I can eat my words because I think we need it as quick as possible. But yeah, I don't think it'll be summer till we get that. And the other problem is they had 6 companies that were part of this this program. What's it? Lightning Speed or whatever it is. Anyway, it's 6 companies and 2 have shined. The other ones aren't shining so good. In fact, one of them is already saying that they don't even have the efficacy rate that they were looking for, not even 50% with their trials. So we may be just relying on these 2 to provide all of the immunizations for the United States. And now, of course, since Pfizer has gone global with theirs, because they always were global, right? We may not get any of the Pfizer stuff until June or July. You saw that, right? Where Trump turned down the offer to give them more. Trump said, no, we got we make commitments to all these other companies, so we're not going to commit to you to buy more. So they went ahead and committed to other countries to sell their product because it's a partnership between Pfizer and BioNTech, which is a German company. So the BioNTech is selling it globally now. So they're going to provide what they're supposed to provide for the United States, what they already have orders for, what they already have from Warp Speed. They'll get paid on that. They'll provide it, and then they go to their other customers because Trump already turned down the other option.
Okay, well, good. Yeah, so Biden will be able to, he'll come out smelling like a rose either way because if he'll either get it solved by mid-March and he can say I'm a genius and we did it, or it was Trump's fault, he screwed it up. Either way, he's gold.
That's the beauty of it. We can blame Trump for everything going out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's just per the usual arrangement. But I'm hopeful that that Biden isn't so senile that he and his administration don't see some way clear to get this out to at least the overwhelming majority of the vulnerable.
Yeah, they're going to do it.
They'll get it out to the overwhelming majority of the vulnerable population. Frontline workers, those with pre-existing conditions, et cetera, those in the age brackets that are vulnerable, so on and so forth. Huh?
Us people.
Yeah, you people, you old people.
Yeah,
get it out
us
to
old people.
That will be in his best interest because he can try to play it's Trump's fault because he didn't do blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, that really doesn't sell well politically.
No. He can blame Trump and say, well, I'm saving it because I'm doing this, but this is what Trump kind of left us with, but I'm doing my best. I'm going to knock it out and we're going to make it happen.
Right.
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be fine.
I was surprised, I told you earlier, whenever we messaged back and forth, confirmed this meeting. So I was at the barbershop, right? And my barber actually had to take off 2 weeks because he got COVID from somebody in his Barber, he's a one-man show anyway, right? He's just one little building. It used to be his dad's business. Now it's his business. Him and his dad cut hair together. I've been going to the same place for, I don't even want to say how long, but anyway. He didn't have anybody in his driveway when I drove by this morning. I'm like, oh, I'm whipping in here because then I don't have to deal with anybody else. And then got another guy and his kids come in with no masks. I'm just like, really? It says right on the door you're supposed to wear a mask. And then another guy rolls in. He didn't have a mask on. And another guy, he didn't want to come. He's an elderly guy, much older than this elderly guy. And he doesn't want to come in because he sees other people with no masks on in there. So anyway, what a shit show. Just because people got those rights and freedoms, can't look out for the other people. Isn't that what they're supposed to do in that Judeo-Christian thing? They're supposed to be looking out for others, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sure.
So I don't know. I wear my mask every place I go. In fact, I think it's a fashion statement now. So even after this is all over, 5 years from now, I think I'm still going to wear a mask.
Yeah. I don't think I will.
I think I will. It's funny. When I first moved to Taiwan back in 2000, they wore masks, but they wore masks like the people that rode the scooters in the street. They said it's because of the dust in the street. They didn't want to, breathe it in or whatever, protect them. And then in 2003, we went through the SARS epidemic. Everybody wore masks. It didn't matter where you went, what you did, who you're with, whatever. Everybody wore a mask. And then from 2003 on, pretty much everybody wore a mask and everybody had a safe distance. So this was not a problem in Taiwan. They've only had, their whole country, they've only had 7 people pass away because of COVID. I guess they must have done something right.
Yeah, maybe.
7 out of 23 million, not bad.
Yeah. Well, and and then again, our president got it.
Yeah, their president didn't get it, but very, very few people got it, and they're right on they're just across the Taiwan Strait from China. But very few people got it, so that made it easier. They didn't have to worry about their president getting it or any of the White House staff. But that's another democracy, a nice fledgling democracy that has all the rights and freedoms just like the United States. But everybody pulled together.
The mask saved him.
Everybody pulled together, and I'm not going to say it's just masks. I think it's everybody pulled together and made sure that they weren't going to spread it because they had, contact tracing. And if somebody gets sick, they report themselves versus hiding it and, don't worry about it. I'm going to hide it or whatever. So, anyway, I diverge. Anyway, we're about done for today, aren't we?
Yeah, I think we've had it.
Holy smokes, man.